Enlightened leaders are truthful. They are consistently truthful. Enlightened leaders never force people and they never dominate them. Instead, they lead, and their words are consistently matching their actions. They give and they care for others, and they don't need anything in return because they're doing it from a place of fullness and centeredness. This is a wisdom that is divine. There is no hell. There is no location called hell. There is only the hell you create in your own mind. Rise above it. Rise above it. The principle of oneness. Everything in the universe comes from one loving source. Every soul has emanated out from that one loving source, and everything and everyone is connected in some divine way. We are one. And as a result of this understanding, then, in enlightened societies, all people are viewed as equally important and treated as equals. Expect leaders to be human. Don't worship them, and don't be surprised when you see they have clay feet. And look for servant leaders who are really in touch with their own humanity, their own vulnerability and failings, and the struggles of the human condition. Let's begin by letting Judith channel, and then we're going to be talking about creating enlightened societies and the qualities of enlightened leadership. Here we go. Hello, all you dear and beautiful souls, beloved souls all around the world. Welcome, welcome to this moment in your time in which we are going to explore many things. This vessel has prepared alongside of us ideas to plant like seeds, ideas to plant like seeds that will grow into vision and a reality of more enlightened societies and enlightened leadership for even those to whom we are speaking this evening. So very many of you, we are going to even be bold and say all of you listening are enlightened leaders. You are those who are way showers. You are light bringers. You are bringing transformation in your inner being, between your two ears, in your mind. You are bringing transformation in your bodies, your cellular structure, the function of your body. You are bringing transformation to your relationships, to your families, to your colleagues, to your workplaces, to the business world. You are bringing transformation and light to your neighborhood, your community, your cities, your states, your nation, even the world, for those of you who have faith and an understanding that you can operate in this way. And so again, here, as we do so often through this vessel, we are sharing in order to give you the vicarious learning you seek, which is the shortcuts you have been looking for. Many of you have been spiritual seekers and devoted to your own personal growth for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40, 50 years even, yes? And all of you, in our estimation, that are listening at this time, have been brave, courageous, and determined, committed within the capacity of consciousness environment that you have been endowed through your life circumstance to this growth. However, there are many of you, we would say most of you, who still long for transformation in some areas. Even one beautiful soul this week said to us, I've been on this spiritual journey for so many years. I must not be a very good student because I am still struggling with X, Y, and Z. And we said to her, certainly not. For in truth, this one has been a dedicated and devoted spiritual student, always looking inward, always making conscious movement forward, absorbing high vibrational content, spiritual teaching, understanding of importance, wisdom, making wisdom her goal. Yes. However, the lack and the misunderstanding that she was failing came from this phenomenon, which we have been explaining to you and will continue to present, that in the subconscious mind, there can be blocks from childhood, even in the womb, and also past lives. And these memory structures are obstructive and they are buried in the subconscious and operate to thwart the success that you have consciously endeavored for. Yes, and much wisdom that you have onboarded in the conscious mind. Yet there are little young parts in the subconscious that serve to thwart. They are obstacles to the growth you desire. And so we will continue to help you, to teach you, to train your super conscious, that is your divinity, your higher self, your soul that is connected to your higher self, the soul that is resident in your body. We will continue to train this super conscious of yours to heal itself. For all it needs is a little guidance, a little instruction, and then you will quickly, swiftly be on your way to wholeness. Yes? And so all of you here that we are speaking to tonight are very good, diligent, conscious students. Yes? Diligent and conscious. Yes. And you only need a little assistance to unlock these subconscious barriers connected to false belief systems in your subconscious mind, in order that you might quickly accelerate all the way to total freedom and self-realization. Yes, ascension above and beyond the limitations of your mind, the limitations of your emotions, the limitations of your belief systems, the limitations of your leaders, of your nations, of your cultures. You may transcend all of that, coming up over all of that, looking down upon all of it as an observer, as a non-judgmental observer. And so it is time, it is time, it is time. If you are here and if you are the same diligent student that you have been for oh so many years, now that you are here, you will find the keys to freedom that you have been missing. And these subconscious beliefs will be rewritten, unseated, neutralized of their negative effects upon your manifestation. For we know, you understand, you are the creator of your life. You are the creator. You create your life. And so why then the unwanted things? Well, because something in your subconscious is still demanding that unwanted thing, although the more mature, spiritual, soul-oriented part of who you are does not want it. And so we will help you to get those young little renegade parts in line, in alignment with your higher self. Yes. And there is your freedom. So much freedom coming here, my dears. So much freedom coming. Coming. Stick around for the freedom. It is beautiful. There is so much joy still ahead of you, even if you are 50, 60, 70, 80. You have time for so much joy. There is an eternity to enjoy the fruits of the freedom you secure for yourself, even in this hour that we have with you. So know that you have signed on. Here you are. When you sign off, you will be someone different, someone brighter, someone lighter, someone less burdened, someone more excited, more enthusiastic about the life you have to live, someone more joyful, someone less sad, someone more trusting and less anxious. This is who you will be when you sign off, a different person than the one who signed on. So hold yourself to no definitions, no labels, no judgments about yourself. Release yourself from judgments of every kind about yourself. Today, this vessel heard one of you issue a harsh a harsh rebuke, a judgment of another. And she understands that it is not the other that you are punishing, my dear, with your harsh words. These words that you speak to another are only a reflection of the harsh punishment that you dole out upon yourself. Remember this, dear ones, whenever you issue harsh words to another, judgmental words to another, it is not really the other that needs to be rebuked. It is not really even the other that you are judging. It is that you punish yourself with this same ferocity. It is that you punish yourself with the same vehemence that you are using in your harsh words to the other. So let's all be rid of this punisher tonight, yes? We want to speak even now. We tag and treat these punishing parts within you, yes? Are you in agreement? We tag and treat these punishing parts that want to punish the self or punish others, punish leaders, punish organizations, this punisher. Yes, we tag and treat this one, for this one is hurting. This one is frightened. This one has learned to punish others in order to protect the self from punishment. And yet this is a lie. It is a defunct strategy that never works. So let there be an end to all punishment. Yes? We want to share with you a story of this vessel. She has not shared it before. It's a good one. We like it. You will appreciate it, although it was very difficult for her. Once in a deep meditation, and she began to hear an anvil crashing over and over right by her ear. It was a loud physical noise, as loud as an anvil being crashed at her eardrum, and it was painful. It was excruciatingly painful to her physical body, and this sound went on for it seemed an hour or two, and it was tormenting. And she pleaded with us. She pleaded to be released from this torment, this tormenting sound of a hammer in her ear. And finally, there was a surrender, for there was nothing she could do to stop this experience. And the moment she surrendered, a deep realization came to her, more than we can express here in words. And it was this hammer in her ear was a symbolic representation, a literal and metaphorical representation of the manner in which she punishes herself, and has done so for her whole life. And we allowed this tormenting sound to go on long enough to finally break her of the desire to be punished. You see, this anvil represented her own desire to punish herself for her perceived, not real, wrongs. And so this went on long enough to finally, permanently, and eternally break her from the desire to ever punish herself or any other person. The ego in this area was utterly and completely released from her being, and now she is free. She is free. She will not desire ever again to punish herself or punish another for any deed at all. And in that moment of realization, she saw with the eyes of her heart how difficult she has made her life for eons, many lifetimes, difficult through this judging and harsh need to punish the self. There is no punishment, my dears. There is no punishment aside from what the ego inflicts upon yourself in your inner being. There is no hell. There is no location called hell. There is only the hell you create in your own mind because some part of you believes it must be punished, you see. So hell is a psychic state by those who feel they have failed or not measured up or been enough in some matter. and should be rewarded with punishment. And this belief comes to us because we have been punished as children, or our parents also were taught. They were also punished, and they grew up with this punishment and inherited from their parents a subconscious belief that children will not prosper, children will not grow up to be happy, responsible members of society unless they are punished. And this is an unfortunate consequences of egoic conditioning. So be free tonight, my dears, of your punishing parts. If you find yourself in an emotional or mental hell, you may not know in the moment how to get out of it, as this vessel with the anvil ringing in her ear, but know that it is not us, and it is not from source. And it is not the will of source for you ever to be tormented or punished by any sense of a hell. And this is in large part, almost all of the reason for the Christ on the cross was to drill into you that all punishment is over. He took all of the punishment on himself so that no one ever again would need to be punished. Yes, once for all, the one took all the punishment for all in one moment of your time. Now, we have said what we desired to say, and now we will support this vessel with our energies as she speaks about enlightened societies and enlightened leadership. We want to support her in this because we know that in many societies, and particularly the American culture, there is a great dark energy of division and strife and the ego running amok. And we know that these things concern you. So we want to lift your perspective in these matters tonight. And we will admonish you again. Rise above it. Rise above it. Do not participate in the right and the left, the blue and the red, the Republican and the Democrat. Do not participate. Do not give it your attention. Do not give it your attention. Set your intention that the very best will come forth. A leader motivated by loving service to God and to others. Yes? And set your intention for that. And set your intention to be, for those in your life whom you have been given stewardship and influence over, the enlightened leader that this vessel will describe for you. Be, first of all, an enlightened leader over your own being, over your own body, over your own health, over your own finances, over your own domain that has been given unto you in this life. And then be an enlightened leader of anyone who has been given into your care, and any situations, environments, or persons whom you have been given stewardship over. Yes? And as you do that, you begin to shift your community, your neighborhood, your workplace, your city, your nation into a state of being, an enlightened state of being, an enlightened collective consciousness. And this is your contribution to creating an enlightened society with enlightened leaders, to be that leader that she will describe for you. Good, let us begin. All right, beautiful ones, let's dive in. So what are the qualities of enlightened leaders and enlightened societies? There's a lot of insanity and fear and craziness going on the world stage in many countries. Particularly, I will probably be relating a lot to what's going on in America because I'm an American. So what are we as high consciousness people to do? Judah just really gave us some great insight into that. And are there even any enlightened leaders anywhere in the world anymore? I know that we have some really enlightened leaders, but are they in the political scene? How do we identify these leaders? How do we make wise and impactful choices when we get in the voting booth? Hello, beautiful souls. This is Angie Hipple from the Judah channel, and I'm thrilled to share with you something truly extraordinary that has transformed my life, the lives of many people in the Judah family, and countless others around the world. Imagine coming home to a sanctuary of peace and harmony where all the stresses of your day melt away, and your well-being, your physical, mental, and emotional well-being is flourishing. This is the magic of Focus Life Force Energy, FLFE. Judah often refers to the co-founders of FLFE, Jeffrey and Clayton, as the Wright brothers of consciousness, just like the Wright brothers who imagined and then brought to life this incredible, fantastic dream that humans could fly. Jeffrey and Clayton are pioneering a new phenomenon in the realm of human consciousness so that humanity can soar. FLFE creates a high consciousness field around your home, your workplace, your cell phone if you're on the go. It's like having the energies of Machu Picchu and other sacred sites right on your own home, right in your living space. Now, what's truly remarkable about FLFE is this. The typical subscriber gains 30 points in their personal level of consciousness in the first 90 days with FLFE. Now, what does that mean? Why is that so extraordinary? To put this in perspective, Dr. Hawkins' research found that the average person only gains 5 points in a lifetime in their own personal level of consciousness. So to be able to gain 30 points in your personal level of consciousness in just 90 days, well, that's just nothing short of miraculous in my book. This is an incredible acceleration of your personal spiritual growth. Now, as someone who is deeply connected to nature, to music, to the healing arts through psychic and channeling gifts, I have experienced firsthand the profound effects of FLFE. It mitigates harmful EMFs. It turns down the volume of all the psychic noise that I hear from the many thousands of people that live around me in my home in the city. It supports better sleep, better health, clearer thinking. It also helps to clear any negative energies or historical imprints on my home, on your home, any ancestral negative karmic baggage on the property that might be associated with the land or the buildings. What I love most about FLFE is that it aligns with my personal journey with Judah, and it supports all the work that I do with you and with Judah in high consciousness fields. It's creating an environment to nurture my growth and my health, and it can do the same for you. Now, I'm sharing with you about FLFE today, not because I need your money. I don't. And FLFE does not need your money. I'm sharing it with you because I really believe that it's going to help your spiritual growth process and support you in a way that you deserve. You're here because you want to grow. That's the whole reason you're here at the Judah channel. You're here because you are learning to be an infinite, supreme creator being. You want to create a beautiful, high vibe, conscious life for yourself and all those that you care about. And that's why I'm sharing FLFE with you. FLFE has been a transformative blessing in my life. It's created an environment that supports all the beautiful work that I do with Judah and each one of you. It's been so key for me that I've bought it for all of my adult children and grandchildren. I give it to them every year as a gift. I wouldn't want them to live without it. Now, FLFE offers 2 amazing services. There's FLFE property for your home, and there's FLFE everywhere on-the-go support. You can assign it to your cell phone. You can assign it to a piece of jewelry or a special object like your watch, something that you always have with you. You can try both of these services for free. It's a fully immersive service. It's a trial of 15 days. You do not have to give your credit card, and you do not have to cancel in order to avoid being charged at the end of that 15-day trial period. There are no strings attached. And if you have questions about the service and how it's working or how to best utilize it, or if anything's going on with you during that trial and you're not sure, you need some support, there's always a real person that answers the phone at FLFE to answer your questions about your property, your level of consciousness, what you're experiencing with the service. The customer service is amazing. Thank you for listening. We are here for you with infinite love and infinite possibilities, and I hope you'll make FLFE a support for you in all of that. We love you. Check out the link below. Tell them Judah sent you. See you soon. So the first quality of enlightened societies is they are governed wisely by enlightened leaders. And enlightened leaders may not be eloquent. They may not have a big dynamic personality with a lot of star quality, but enlightened leaders are truthful. They are consistently truthful. Enlightened leaders never force people and they never dominate them. Instead, they lead, and their words are consistently matching their actions. Enlightened leaders don't need to prove a point. They never need to justify, argue, defend, or explain their position. Their actions and the fruits of their actions stand alone. Their actions and what happens as a result of their actions speak for who they are, and they are evidence that they are truly an enlightened leader. Enlightened leaders are oriented in service to others. The more they do for others, the happier they are. They are constantly giving to others, not in a codependent way. Now, what is codependency? Well, codependency is when we're giving to others and caring for others in order to comfort or alleviate our own discomfort, our inner discomfort and upset and anxiety and feelings of lack and limitation. That's what codependency is, right? Caring for others, leading others, rescuing others so we can finally feel okay on the inside. But enlightened leaders, they give and they care for others, and they don't need anything in return because they're doing it from a place of fullness and centeredness. Enlightened leaders, material things are not important to them. They are not materialistic people. Now, they might be very wealthy as a result of not caring. This is a paradox. It is a spiritual paradox. Because enlightened leaders don't desire or crave money from an egoic driven perspective, because they don't, money flows to them very naturally and effortlessly. It is a love energy. The money that flows to them is a symbol or a manifestation of their love, of the love energy that they give out coming back to them. They give to others and the love energy comes back many times in the form of money. The Tao Te Ching says, the more the master gives to others, the wealthier she or he becomes, right? So enlightened leaders have tapped into this form of mastery that the more they give, the more comes back to them, and they can just never outgive it, never outgive it, never outgive it. And the more they give, there's just more coming back, and this is the cycle of abundance for them. Enlightened leaders can discern when to take action, firm, decisive action, take the bull by the horns, so to speak, or when to step back and let events take their course, let events play out and be hands-off. This is a wisdom that is divine, a wisdom that is divine, that is channeled from source, from angels, from the Holy Spirit, that helps enlightened leaders know when to fight and when to withdraw and simply be hands-off. Lao Tzu said in the Tao Te Ching, can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? So I love what Judah said earlier. The way that we begin to have enlightened societies and enlightened leadership is we begin to be enlightened leaders in our own context, in the areas that we have been given authority by God. So a lot of moms and dads out there listening tonight, let's listen to that phrase again. Can you love your children and lead them without imposing your will on them? Yeah. What about those of you that are bosses tonight that have employees? Can you love your employees and lead them without imposing your will? What about husbands, partners, wives? And can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Yeah. Hands off. Remember, we've been talking for a couple of weeks now. What are the things awakened people quit? They quit controlling. They're hands off. They let things take their course. Enlightened leaders act without expectations and they lead without controlling. And this is a supreme virtue. And this is one of the core tenets of Taoism. If you've never had an opportunity to dig into Taoism, particularly if you're coming from a religious background and you've never connected with it, I highly recommend reading Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. I love this one by Stephen Mitchell. It's been like a second Bible for me. It's really powerful. Now, let's contrast that with ego-driven leaders, right? Because a big part of being awakened and moving forward in our journey is simply just recognizing the ego. Because who we are underneath the ego is an enlightened being. We are enlightened. Our essence is pure, perfect, flawless, operating in true spiritual authority. So whatever is not that is simply ego conditioning laid on top of that. And so a lot of times the reason we talk about the ego is so we can begin to recognize it and catch on to its games. So unconscious, ego-driven people in societies and unconscious ego-driven leaders, they have an unhealthy interest in controversy. Remember, we've been talking about that for a couple of weeks. Love that conflict and drama. Love it. Yeah, the ego loves it. So unenlightened leaders that are really ego-driven, they are going to always want to be in the middle of a controversy. And also, these unenlightened leaders are caught in controversy a lot of times about semantics, right? They insist that certain words need to be used in certain ways and have certain meanings, and they will split hairs over the meanings of words. So a lot of these controversies that these unenlightened leaders are involved in are around just words, just stupidity, just stupid rantings about he said, she said, they said, what they meant and what I meant and all of that. Right? So this kind of wrangling over semantics, it can even happen in our own more spiritual cultures. What one spiritual teacher means when they say a particular word can be different than what another spiritual teacher says means when they say the same word. So we have to not get too hung up on semantics. Instead, we need to listen deeply. What is the heart? What is the aura? What is the love or light or peace that this spiritual teacher is emanating? What are they really saying? What's the feeling? What's the energy of it beyond or underneath the words, right? Instead of splitting hairs and having controversy about words. So sometimes, not very often, some folks here will post comments wrangling about a certain thing that Judah or I said and what was meant by it, and wanting to argue a little bit around the definitions and the meanings and all that. Well, guys, I can't do that, because if I do that with you, then I'm putting energy into arguing, defending, justifying, explaining, and then I can't be about just loving you and creating a high vibrational atmosphere for you to be warmly embraced and supported in your spiritual journey, right? All right, so unenlightened, unconscious leaders, when they get involved with all this controversy, it leads to strife, abusive talk, a lot of mocking. There's so much mockery now in the media around politics in particular that we've become immune to it. But I want us to listen. If we are listening, I personally try not to engage any of it at all, but some of you may feel that it's a part of your spiritual journey to listen. And so when you're listening, take note, be really aware, listen to the mockery. Would you talk to someone else like that? Or would you allow someone to come into your home and talk in the ways that you're listening to on the media? Would you allow them to talk to somebody in your home like that? Your partner, your child, yourself? So a lot of mockery, judgment, jealousy, friction, and all of this just creates this general fog, right? And what it has done is it's created for us, I can't speak for other nations, but I can speak for America, I believe, as a citizen here. It's created an inability to locate truth, to find any sense of clarity. And there's so much of it that we've really gotten immune to it. Unconscious leaders, ego-driven leaders, they will use religious or spiritual affiliations for their own selfish gain. Folks, if you wear a yarmulke, if you hold a Bible in your hand, if you wear a crystal around your neck, whatever it is that you do that in some way affiliates you with a certain religious group or spiritual culture, it doesn't mean anything unless you live it. Doesn't mean anything, right? In 1 Timothy, there's a verse that says, talking about these types of people, they have an unhealthy interest in controversy, out of which comes envy, strife, abuse, evil, suspicion, and constant friction. These are men with depraved minds who are devoid of the truth, and these men regard godliness as a means of gain. So be aware of people using a religious or spiritual affiliation in order to have a platform or to gain a vote or have basically support their agenda. Enlightened societies are filled with contented, peace-loving people. And I want to read for you this passage 80 from the Tao Te Ching that talks about this. And by the way, if you don't know Lao Tzu at all, he was a contemporary of the Buddha, and it is possible that he was a mentor for the Buddha. He's the OG. He's the OG ascended master from the Chinese culture. And this is what he said about enlightened societies. And one of the things that's unique about Lao Tzu is most, I would say, spiritual masters that have been in our modern history, they were separate. They were not involved in their communities, in their political systems. They held themselves separate as spiritual leaders. But Lao Tzu, one of the things that makes him unique is that he was very involved with his country, his nation, with the leadership and the way that China was run. It says here, if a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They will enjoy the labor of their hands, and they don't waste time inventing labor-saving machines. Since they dearly love their homes, they aren't interested in travel. There may be a few wagons and boats, but these don't go anywhere. There might be an arsenal of weapons, but nobody ever uses them. People enjoy their food. They take pleasure in being with their families, spending their weekends working in their gardens, and they delight in the doings of the neighborhood. And even though the next country is so close that the people can hear the roosters crowing and the dogs barking across the border, they are content to die of old age without ever having gone to see it. So in enlightened societies that are governed by enlightened leaders, the people love peace, contentment. They love their work, they're family-oriented, they're community-minded, they're neighborly with a real true sincerity of heart and kindness. What does it mean to be content? It means that we are accepting, and I don't like the word accepting too much because sometimes it can sound kind of defeated. I like the word allowing better. We're allowing what is, whatever is, and we're accepting it, allowing it. Godliness with contentment is a great gain. You see, the ego is a malcontent, always. The ego is always yammering about what you didn't do, what you should have done, what you could have done, what you ought to do to make yourself happier. And this is a trap, this discontent, right? So enlightened societies are full of contented people, grateful people. So a mantra that you can use to help with this is, nothing could make me happier than I am right now. Nothing could make me happier than I am right now. Nothing could make me happier than I am right now. It's a great mantra for contentedness. And 1 Timothy again says, if we have food and clothing, we can be content with these. Yeah? We brought nothing into the world, we'll carry nothing out. Isn't that right? We come in naked, we go out naked, unless somebody dresses up in a fancy suit for our funeral. Enlightened societies, they live and operate closely to the principle of oneness. Enlightened societies dissolve a sense of separateness between people groups, not just in their practice or with their words, but they dissolve the idea of separateness. I'm separate from you, the us and them, the haves and the have-nots, the elites and the less thans. They dissolve this type of thinking in their minds and this perspective. And in enlightened societies, people live together as one human family, unified in love. I'll never forget traveling to Canada, and this was many years ago, but I was very impressed because in their neighborhoods, the city planners actually planned for people of all classes and educational status and races to live together in the same neighborhood. So there could be very wealthy people living right next door to people who were very poor or on government assistance. And this is the way their neighborhoods were planned. And I thought it was so brilliant. So the principle of oneness. Yeah, everything in the universe comes from one loving source. Every soul has emanated out from that one loving source, and everything and everyone is connected in some divine way. We are one. And as a result of this understanding, then in enlightened societies, all people are viewed as equally important and treated as equals. The weakest and the most vulnerable are respected and given a voice. We have these words in our Declaration of Independence in America, but we still have a long way to go to live up to them. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all persons are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, in contrast, unconscious, ego-driven leaders are polarized towards service to self. The law of one teaches us that all persons are on one end or the other of, if you imagine a stick, we are either polarized to self, service to self, or service to others. Service to self or service to others. And we can be anywhere along that spectrum, right? Anybody that's here listening to this channel tonight is undoubtedly oriented towards service to others. Yes? Okay. So unconscious ego-driven leaders demand that you must be on their team, you must see things their way, and you must serve their agenda. They insist on defining, defending, and protecting their group at the expense of any other groups. So if you're going to play ball with them, you have to support their agenda and be a part of their team and their group, and you cannot advocate for any others outside that group. And unconscious, ego-driven leaders use division to galvanize support. So they're actually sowing seeds of strife and division in order to lockstep people together with them in fear and judgment. And they will insist that you belong to their harem and worship them. Now, enlightened leaders, in contrast, are polarized in service to others. An example of this would be Mother Teresa. She was content to serve in the lowest of places, the places that other people disdain and would perhaps never go to. Enlightened leaders don't take sides. They don't take sides. There's a beautiful story in the Old Testament, the Hebrew and Christian tradition, about Gideon. And Gideon was just an average Joe. He was a farmer, not a special guy, just liked to mind his own business and tend to his own land. And an angel appeared to Gideon and said, Gideon, God wants you to lead the nation of Israel in battle. And Gideon went back and forth with this angel saying, no, I don't wanna, and why, and what's gonna happen, and I can't do it, and all of that. And he said, okay. Finally, he said, okay, to the angel, I will do it if you promise me, if God will promise me that we will win and that God will be on our side. And the angel said, I'm not on either side. I'm neither for nor against. Yeah. So even when we're called into battles, so to speak, and we're fighting wars, even physical wars being fought to protect the innocent. Still, there is, in an enlightened leader, there is this heart position that they're never against another, right? That they see us as all as one human family. There's even a grief then in that sense of having to fight another part of their own human family. Enlightened leaders abandon all the desires for the self, and they are present for people. They are present with their attention. And Lao Tzu says, the Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. Yeah. So a good example of enlightened leaders versus unconscious, ego-driven leaders was Jesus and the Pharisees. So when Jesus was a man walking the earth, serving and doing his thing that he came to do, there was another group of religious leaders in that day that had control. They had control of all religious thought. Yeah, in that time. And they were called the Pharisees. And they also, note this is really important, they worked in a really strong alliance with politics. There was a really strong alliance with the political leaders of the day. So the religious leaders and the political leaders worked together to keep the people under control. Well, Jesus, as an enlightened leader, and then the Pharisees, ego-driven. And I want to pull this story up for you guys. So these Pharisees were always trying to trap Jesus and get him to say something that would expose him as a fraud. And they were always backing him in a corner and trying to force him to justify or argue or defend or explain his position. And so there's a story from Mark 2 where Jesus was hanging out at Levi's house, and Levi was known to be kind of a skanky tax collector that stole from people and extorted money from the poor and helpless. And Jesus was having dinner with him at his house. And it says that there were many tax collectors and other kind of lowlifes eating with Jesus and his disciples, because many of these people were intrigued by him and following him. And when these Pharisees saw Jesus eating with these people, they said to him, "Why would he eat with these tax collectors and sinners?" And when Jesus heard them say this, he said, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, it's the sick. I didn't come to call the people that have it all together, right? I came to call the sinners." So enlightened leaders are there serving the people, the unwanteds, right? Yeah, the outsiders. Enlightened societies don't passively and unconsciously give up their sovereignty to leadership. This is really important, guys. Enlightened people like ourselves, we don't passively and unconsciously give up our power to leadership. And that includes people like myself and Judah, right? Or other channelers or spiritual teachers. Anybody who's influencing your thought or your state of being in any way, you don't ever passively give up your authority to anyone, right? You stay conscious. You're a sovereign being. Yes, you can trust your inner guidance system. Anything that Judah or I or anyone else says to you should only be a confirmation of what you already feel and know inside, or illuminate what you feel and know inside. So enlightened persons and citizens know that leaders are humans. They are prone to error. They are not perfect in the sense of their thought, words, emotions, and their experiences. They're not gods. They only have an interior space that is their perfected soul. Lao Tzu said, "If you overesteem great men, people will become powerless." So in unconscious societies, leaders are worshipped. They're put on a pedestal. They're given supreme authority. People give up their thought to them, their ways of thinking to them, and just take whatever's said to them to be true. And in unconscious societies, people are thought to be too ignorant to be trusted with any power of their own. In enlightened societies, leaders stay in touch with the hearts, the needs, the genuine struggles of the people they serve. And they trust those people to figure things out. Yeah? They trust people in their own process. They trust that those that they lead have their own inner guidance system, and that they are finding their way in the right time and way for them. Okay, so I think that's a good place to kind of wind down. So some tips on that are just expect leaders to be human. Don't worship them, and don't be surprised when they have clay feet. And look for servant leaders who are really in touch with their own humanity, their own vulnerability and failings, and the struggles of the human condition. Take back your power from other people, places, things, political parties, ideologies, ideas, things that you've given your power over to. Take back your power. I remember when I was in my first marriage, there was only one news channel that was played in my house. Only one. And if I were to have turned it to the other news channel, that would have been a big mess, right? That would have been really rocking the boat. I remember that at some point when I would drive to school to my teaching job every day, I would sneak and listen to the other news outlet. And I remember how transformative it was for me, because I got exposed to some ideas that made me question what I heard on the other news outlet. So my challenge to you is, I personally don't listen to news because that's how I've been instructed for this season of my life. That might change at some point, but that's my decision for now. But I personally challenge you, if you are listening to the news right now, at least listen to an equal amount of both channels. Yeah, but understand that all these qualities and traits we've been talking about tonight, if you're really aware when you're watching the news, you will see that this is ego-driven stuff. It is strife, controversy, and there's not a lot of truth telling, at least from my experience. I haven't seen truth telling on either side, to be honest. So in enlightened societies, there's no more better than, less than, us and them, my team, your team, big shot, little guy. There's no more of that, right? And in enlightened societies, enlightened leaders are listening to people's struggles. They're listening to their wants and needs while simultaneously holding in mind the good of the whole. So today I was tested a little bit in this area about enlightened leadership, and I'll share a little of my struggle. I have a lot to learn, and as I've shared with you guys before, every time that I choose a topic, invariably, I always get tested and taught on that topic throughout the week as I prepare. So I will tell you that we've started our Telegram app for the Judah family. So if you haven't gotten involved, it's so beautiful what's going on there. So Telegram is an app like WhatsApp, and you can download it on your phone or your device, and then you can find the Judah Family International to join. And this feed has been going for a couple of weeks now, and it's been absolutely beautiful the way this core part of the Judah family, the way you guys have been loving each other, supporting each other, focusing on your own growth, really just the highest vibe, most loving social media feed I've ever seen. I've been so impressed with you guys. Well, today I was challenged in my journey to be an enlightened leader, my desire to be an enlightened leader. So I read the first comment I've read out of hundreds and hundreds of comments there that was just mean and attacking, just a full-on frontal attack of another person in the group, not me or Judah, but another person in the group. And so, of course, with my mother's heart, I would never want anyone in this group to be harmed by any words spoken by any of us, right? We're one family here together growing in love. And also, as a leader, I felt the hurt and compassion for the one who had written the comment. So we know this, right, as moms when we have kids, and then maybe they fight and the one hurts the other. And so we have to bring justice to the one that's been victimized, but also holding in mind what is best for the whole family and for the one that dished out the persecution or the punishment to the other. So a lot of things to consider, right? So, my ego instinct is to take on a mother role and to manage or rescue or control what's going on in the conversation in some way, right? But there's a higher, more enlightened way. And I really appreciated Chuck's input because he said, you know what, just let everybody sort it out. I ended up deleting the really hurtful comment in order to kind of do some damage control in my thought process. And Chuck said, it's okay. You can just leave the negative comments and let everybody sort it out. And I appreciated his input because you know what? It's true. I absolutely trust you guys. I believe that you're spiritually mature and wise. And that even if someone says something really hurtful, I trust you to sort it out and to come to a place of love for everyone involved. And to learn also from the interchange. So here's the challenge, right, for me, to really use wisdom, to talk to Judah, to keep on trusting you, which I do, that I never have to take on a role of managing, right? I can let things unfold as they will. And if at some point I feel like a mama bear and I feel Judah backing me to protect in some way a vulnerable person, I will do that too. And the most beautiful thing about it all is I don't have to get it all right because you guys love me and I love you and we can be messy together. And that's what relationship is. And whatever happens, we will keep loving each other. We will forgive each other and work through things. And that's what it means to be a family. And so I I thank you for being such the beautiful beings that you are and being as mature as you are. It's really beautiful. All right, I think that's a good place to wind up. I did have some really cool shout outs. I'll just share these real quick because I've been meaning to share them for a couple weeks and I haven't. So I have a note from C. Lavender. She said, I asked Judah for a birthday gift through a text on March 14th, and last night on my birthday, I was lovingly held and kissed by 350,000 angelic beings. And as if that wasn't more of a gift than I could have ever imagined, added to that was a vision of myself as a child with angels on their knees playing with me. I have been using the True You Accelerator course, and what's been going on in my life has been nothing short of amazing. Judah said to me that they were going to blow my doors wide open, and afterwards they physically did just that, and spiritually they are keeping their word to me. Thanks, Angie, Chuck, and Judah, for the best birthday I've ever had so far. I love that. Thank you, C. And this one came from David, who's a beautiful musician in Florida. And he said, hey, Angie, the day that I had an experience with Judah that I wrote to you about, I jokingly said, Judah, you guys can channel through me anytime. And as soon as I said it, they plugged me in like I was plugged into a wall socket with chills running up and down my entire body for about 10 minutes. And the hair was standing up on my arms. And I heard them clearly say, we've been doing this for you since you were very young. Who did you think it was flowing through you all those years? And I was composing a whole lot of stuff during that time that I didn't even understand at that time. So David writes beautiful music, songs with Judah's inspiration. He's a very talented musician. He's been sharing that with us on Telegram. And the last one I will read is a channeled message that someone taking the True You Accelerator course, if you don't know about that course, throughout the whole course, you learn to channel and you write down messages from angels every day. And this is one of the messages from their angels. And I thought it was really powerful example of what happens to people in the course. I wanted to read it to you. Here's the message from the angels. Divine is in you and you are in the divine. Divinity is all around you. You are bathed in divinity, but you do not see this clearly, dear one. Yes, it is possible to see divinity by opening your heart and the divine connection of the crown and the heart chakra. You are getting there. I know that you are trying to close the gap, but you will get there sooner than you think, dear one. It will be a natural flowering. Once you get to the bottom of this life, you are unraveling. You are loved by God. Never forget that. You are enough just as you are in any given moment. And this need to improve is an illusion that you're caught up in. Everything is just as it is. You are loved in this moment, engulfed in divinity. Search no more. You are home. Beautiful. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.